Today we're going to outline text to create kind of initial on what we can laser cut out. I'm going to start in my construction layer and I'm going to draw a 4x4 square. This is the space we have to cut out of material per person. I like to draw it first because that's also going to help me size my text. Before I begin too much, I am just going to double check my O snaps. Those are all on. Again, that's a personal preference. I tend to work with all of them on. But if you know there's some you're like, I know I need these, you can just check those. So next, I'm going to grab my text. I'm going to place that. And I'm just going to do an R. For Rachel, you can do your first initial, you could do your last initial. If you want to do first, middle, and last, that's up to you. I am going to change this back into my text layer. I'm going to adjust my T-just, and I'm going to change it to MC for middle center. What that does is that puts that blue node in the center of my text. So now I'm going to select this, and I'm going to scale it up. So I'm just scaling it. So that way it takes up a large majority of my square. I'm just going to center it. I actually think that's too big, so I'm going to adjust that. Because I may want to actually alter or modify my design once I outline this text. So I'm going to type TXT EXP, and that stands for text explode. So just like after we polar arrayed our snowflake, our flower, I'm going to explode this text. So I'm going to press enter, select my text, press enter, and now you can see that it created these outlines. And it divided it into these different parts and pieces. So I'm going to trim this so that way I don't have any of those kind of extra cut lines. Now I'm going to do overkill. So press escape. OVERKILL. What overkill does is it makes sure that there's no extra lines overlapping it. So I selected that, I'm going to press enter. I don't need to change anything here, I'm just going to click OK. So we do that because if this line overlapped with this line, the laser's going to go over that twice and it can actually char your piece more than needed. We'll use this as we create our laser file going forward, but with this exploding the text, sometimes it creates lines on top of each other, and this overkill will resolve that issue. Now this is a good time to look at, so the R is going to be cut out by the laser. But right now if you look, this centerpiece isn't going to be left. So I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to move it to my text layer. And I'm going to make sure it's by layer so that way I can see this really nicely. And I'm actually going to modify this. So I'm going to draw my line in here. I'm not in the right layer. Let's make our text layer current. We're going to create a new layer when we laser engrave, but this is just so that way we can kind of get the process, get our object drawn. And I'm going to take this part and I'm going to remove that. You can see my line wasn't perfect. You can always go back, make changes beforehand. I'm going to bring that all the way down. There we go. Because what that just did is it made it so that way this center part of the R is attached to this outline. I may decide that I want to fill it. So I may actually curve the corners of my square. I can use a polygon as the shape. The possibilities are endless, but it has to fit within that 4x4 space. This is also where I might be able to come in and draw. We used our polylines for our flower. I'm going to start this and A, enter. I'm just going to kind of draw this kind of crazy polygon shape, and I can modify that. If I wanted to make some kind of abstract shape, I can bring these points in. I can manipulate this however I want to kind of create this effect. I could draw something. Let's say I want to do a polygon with 6 sides. I'll place it right here. Let's circumscribe it. Let's do like that. So I can take this and I can still array it about my center point. Notice that didn't come inside, but if I try 4, so if I wanted to put that in, I can then make those kind of abstract designs within and around my letter. I might include my letter. There's a lot that I can do. When I'm done with my letter specifically, notice it's still behaving like individual parts and pieces. And that's fine until you're ready to be done. When you're done modifying your letter, so I trimmed this so that way this stayed as part of this back part, I'm going to select just my letter and I'm going to join. So that way it converted this into one polyline. So that way that is going to cut out evenly. The laser is just going to follow along the outside of it because it's going to be a vector cut, just like when we cut out our keychains earlier in the year. Right now, these would also be cut out. And remember, if we want to modify any of those, I'm just going to explode that array. So now they behave as individual polygons. So this is where, if you want to use I want you to trace your letter, an initial for your name. You don't have to add anything, but for the assignment, you're going to at least trace your initial and put that on your drawing. But this is something that you can then use when you're creating your own design that we're going to cut out. Good luck.